Hey y'all, welcome back to Date Car Pod. I'm Jenna, and I just couldn't stop thinking about this season and everything that happened. And we really have to get into justice for Jenn and all of the bullshit that's been happening since the finale. So, of course, I had to have back on bestie of the pod and my dear friend, Leamy.
Hi, everyone.
Oh,
You're the
my
key.
Thank you for being here. You just told me right before I hit record, you reminded me that yeah, you are currently in the same city as our girl Jen Tran right now, because she is
Watson, hello. She's in the building. She's,
how
I almost went to go see her throw the first pitch, but I've been feeling sniffly, and so I don't need to spread any potential viruses to people right now. So I'm indoors this weekend. But it looks like she's having a good old time. If you guys haven't seen already on TikTok, she and her friends went to go spill some tea in the harbor and give tea. And she said a lot of stuff about her season and bleeped it out. So
it's like Jen. It's a good joke. I was like, I like it even.
laughed her
Uh,
out with a sense of humor. I think she's an absolute comedian. Just like love that.
yeah, so good. And then, did you see the videos? She went to a bar last night and got on the bar and was feeding shots to the luckiest people alive.
Yeah, shot o'clock. Um, I just think that, you know, from now on, I don't think Devin can come to Boston. I'm being so honest. Like people are like, yeah, Massachusetts, it's safe because there's high rates of education. It has one of the lowest gun ownerships in the country, and all these things are very true. There's a reason I moved here. But these people got hands. These people got hands, and if they don't got hands, they'll curse you out. Like there's no way he'd have a moment of peace here. They would curse him out. Definitely, he's not getting served at a bar here. They'll clock him immediately. Immediately. Like as soon as he like lands at Boston Logan, they'll be like, "The Devon is coming! The Devon is coming!" Like all through America's coming.
I love also because like I am only getting cultural references from like what I see online, and it always seems like that. Like my friend Kelly from Beyond the Blinds podcast was lived there, and yeah, she just always talks about like it's really real there. People hold grudges. You have to be like you have to come correctly to it, or you're dead.
Yeah. I remember being in a bar and someone asked me about like who my longest grudge is, and I was like, "Oh yeah, like my ancestors like hold grudges against the British." And the guy was like, "We're buying you 5 drinks," and I was like, "Hold on, I'm sober, but thank you."
I appreciate it. We're gonna get along great. So fucking oh, so good. Yeah, but I have to say, like, it was so she's been playing this kind of like don't send Devin hate. I obviously we all agree with that. Um, don't like I'm still gonna post about the romantic parts of like our relationship, all these other things. We'll kind of get into that. But like last night, she was just like, Devin sucks. Devin sucks. And I have never, have we ever seen a Bachelorette do something like this? It's like so I hate everything that has happened to her, and I don't want this to have been like what we have to go through. But like
Yeah.
if this is where we're at, I want her to go fully into it. Or I love that for her.
Yeah, I would say in the past, a lot of bachelorettes, in order to gain sympathy, they've had to kind of play it small when it comes to their anger. They've had to be very calm and composed, especially bachelorettes of color, right?
Right, right.
Especially when someone from their season is exposed as being racist, they have to handle it with grace and be very kumbaya and restorative justice about it. And I think to an extent, like Jen is right, she doesn't want someone getting, trashed by hundreds of people on the internet because people can get wild. They send death threats in this franchise. A lot of really inappropriate things have been sent to people in the past. I will say, however, the path that Jen has gone down is such a departure from the box of like the model minority that so many people have tried to put her and many other
Mm-hmm.
Asian women in.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, I'm like, yeah, you know what? She's she's not putting these men on a pedestal. She's focusing on herself. She's allowing herself rage. She's allowing herself to be a little messy because these men were very overtly messy. A lot of them were trash. A lot
Yeah.
of them were trash.
Hmm.
Are present,
Are currently, yeah.
are currently. Um, whether it was on camera or just their general digital footprint. And I don't think anyone gets to be upset with Jen about her rage right now when we just watched a season full of egotistical hotheads that were there to like argue with each other and not actually like form a connection with Jen. They'll be like, I don't know how to connect to my emotions except for anger.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how to like tap in and like talk about my feelings unless it's from a place of toxic masculinity.
Yeah. And like competitiveness and like and my emotion of I want wife. I want wife, I want child. That's like is that an emotion? It's like no, Marcus. It's not an emotion.
That is the part where I felt sick to my stomach because it reminded me of something someone told me a couple years ago. It was an aunt. And this was before I ever had like my partner over to dinner at my place when we started dating. I was talking to her about like how I was trying to rekindle something with an old flame. And she said, there are two types of people, the people who want a spouse and some kids. And then there are people who want to be a partner and be a parent.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Some people view their family and the people in their lives as objects to be possessed. It's like an accolade because it makes them look good, right? We've seen it even in the corporate world. People are more likely to close deals and sales or get promoted or be given more leeway or be more trusted if they have a lifelong partner and a family that is stable because they're seen as someone who can commit, who can actually show up every day to a certain commitment, right?
Yeah.
And why you've seen in certain positions someone, you know, gets caught cheating on a partner and that affects their ability to keep their job because their boss is like, if you are going to screw over the person that you lay next to every day, why should I trust you with however many millions of dollars? Which kind of fair, kind of bogus if you're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're acting sideways with your friends, who am I? I don't know you from Adam.
No, so
Right.
true.
So
Yeah.
I think with Marcus, it's like a lot of the compet culture that a lot of the men in this franchise find themselves where they get to a certain age and they're within a certain demographic that values the nuclear family. It's like
Mm-hmm.
keep things together no matter how toxic. Whereas Jen, I relate to her personally because I also come from a background where parents are not together. And a lot of people look at people like me and Jen and say, we come from broken homes. But what they don't realize is that what's really broken is people forcing the image of the nuclear family and
Yes.
entertaining dysfunctionality in order to maintain that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, and then like you add in the part of like what I was screaming for me for Marcus, for example, was also that like he was clearly trying to heal his trauma of his parents falling to the same broken system, have kids, and then they abandoned them. We don't know the full story. We don't know obviously like what the actual like context was, but like it seems to me that's like he's clearly just trying to heal that wound. I'm going to be the father my father was never, is, which it's okay, that's your journey, but like you're not ready for that. You're
Right. Well, men will go on reality TV but and like embarrass themselves in front of the whole country before they go to therapy.
and I feel like he was using like Jesse was the therapist. It's like you guys have an on-site staff therapist who I probably wouldn't fucking trust with my thoughts and feelings or journal, but Jesse Palmer's not it. And Marcus was just like, I've every episode was just like, is this what therapy is like?
We're like, oh my dad this, my dad that, and Jesse is just poor Jesse. He has a kid to go home to. Like, let this man go. He's not. There are so many times I'm watching and I'm like, this man is here for the check so he could feed his family. I could. This man is here because this is a job.
I'm not gonna give Jesse necessarily leeway for the way he acted on this finale, which was bogus as fuck. But I will say I listened to Ben Higgins' podcast. I'm just ignoring Ashley I. She's not there for me. It was Ben's. And he went off this entire podcast episode, but he was like he's like Jesse clearly was not paying attention. He came to that stage. They were feeding him lines. He did not know what was happening. He kind of was just like, oh shit, Jen's like heartbroken, but like, hey girl, don't you feel like really proud of yourself for proposing? Like, isn't that so feminist and cool? And but the way Ben was like clocking that he just like completely was checked out, I was like, oh, that actually makes a lot more sense. And I'm not like, I'm not excusing him, but I'm like, yeah, he was not being malicious, I don't think.
I don't think so either. If we look at Jesse Palmer's background, he was a like a sports presenter, right? So he's yeah, that's a big reason why they chose him for the job, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
He knows how to deliver these lines, right?
Mhm.
As much as Tasha was phenomenal, right? She needed to be able to just like detach from certain things emotionally, and because she was a former lead and went through something really heartbreaking, it probably would have made it impossible for her to go on. Whereas Jesse, yes, former bachelor, but he's now married to someone outside of the franchise. He's had a long history of just like delivering the lines, presenting, understanding the flow of the show, sticking to a script, and doing what he needs to do. He probably had some very strong feelings over the years about the teams that he was presenting for, some of the players, but he,
Hmm.
this is what I need to do. This is my job, and I'm gonna go home and be unproblematic and just go home to my wife.
Yeah.
And they needed someone like that who just like doesn't really have too much of a blueprint outside of that, and
No.
also wasn't trying to, I don't know what he was trying to do, but just other than make a case for plantation sorority parties. You
And
know,
the audacity that somebody was like, this finale would have been so much different and better had Chris Harrison still been here. And I was like, excuse you, what?
because Chris Harrison would be on an interview right now being like, but guys, but Devin, let's think of what Devin went through. And Jesse is just like what I've seen him do with the last couple leads, especially like with Charity and Jen. When they're upset, he'll cry with them. Like you can, it's like very palpable emotion, right? He is very capable of that level of emotional intelligence. So much so that, next time there is a season of The Bachelorette, can Jesse cast the men? Can Jesse get the men? Because I don't know what the casting directors are doing. This,
Ugh.
like the level of negligence in these background checks is comparable to some of the Uber drivers in this country.
Oh my god.
Like there's checks
Literally.
slipping through the cracks.
Oh my god. And frankly, I would have been fine with some of the Uber drivers being on the show. Like
Because at least with the Uber drivers, right, you can verify all of them have employment and income coming in. I think we are where we are today because I've seen this terrifyingly so over the last couple years. The standards for a man coming on the show, if he has a little bit of emotional intelligence, like he's
Joey.
right, a little bit of emotional intelligence, you can pass. Joey was like an anomaly, right? The fact that he's able to communicate his feelings, I'm like, oh, you have sisters. You have an
Yeah,
older sister who
so
would
true.
beat your ass if you were with him. Amazing, love it. Give me 14 of them right now. Spectacular.
I know, but he was such a risk. I think to your point, like he didn't have a job, but he was a little soft and they took a risk on it and it worked. But like otherwise, you're right. Like your point stands. Like there's like we've had this huge trend of like losers.
Right, but like it's like Joey still taught tennis, right? He was a tennis instructor. He had a that may have not been like a job where he would have made a killing, right? But he was
Hmm.
making a living
Hmm.
at the end of the day.
Hmm.
When you look at past bachelors, I'm gonna bring up Ari, right, with the race car driving. When was the last time anyone saw that man on a track? Because like by the time they made him the bachelor, what was he actually doing? Like what was he giving up a career or had the career given up on him? Next one, Matt James, right? He said he was in commercial real estate. In 2020?
I forgot. That's what he. No, I'm sorry.
Because you were doing ABC Foods and you were
No.
already in the building and HR already had your background check through that, and it was easy for them logistically to cast through that way. Because for him to not even have been on a previous Bachelorette season and get that job, like we didn't even get to see his personality. Because probably if we had, we'd have been like, no, this man is barely ready to be like, let him try out being a boyfriend first, right? Let's see his track record with that. And then
He's still practicing too because they're still together.
oh, then he,
But he's making sure he's good at that. Oh my
I'll
god.
probably be married before him.
I
And the
really
great thing about that is I come from a country where there's like four different ceremonies. Like I'm gonna have like literally four different weddings.
do. Yeah, before, yeah.
And I feel like I'm gonna get through at least half of those before that man is married.
Oh my god, iconic.
So it's just like the standards for who's coming in the door as a man is just like the disparities. It's just day and night. Whereas like every single woman that's had to be a lead, especially a woman of color, the way they cast Rachel Lindsay, everyone's like, she's perfect. Yeah, she had no choice but to be.
Mhm.
Oh, you're perfect. Did she have a choice? Tasha was amazing. She was great. Did she have a choice? Jen was also perfect. Did she have like they're not giving women, especially women of color in this franchise, the same choices. The starting line is not the same. And even if they do put the starting line at the same place, they're like, we're gonna put hurdles, we're gonna put obstacle courses, and then at the end, the front runner is gonna be the guy to yell, build the wall before you get to the finish line. That's what they gave her.
So they
They
gave
made
her.
her queen so dirty.
We have to. We. Oh my god, what part do we talk about first? Yeah, you just. What the fuck is Devin? What the actual fuck? I'm so fucking livid, and I'm so livid that like I'm happy that like a lot of people online are talking about him and all of what happened to Jen because of what his actions on the show. I do wish that there was more people talking about his actions off the show because we all were seeing that, the people who were looking at that, and it's like the entire time, absolutely this is not okay. Like it's so violently not okay. This is your first Vietnamese lead, and you literally put a man on the show who's anti-immigration, who she had to do the legwork for you guys on a date and be like, my last boyfriend made me feel as though the hate I experienced as an Asian doesn't exist. And you put a man on who would literally say the same thing and probably did to her during their fated 2 months together. And then the show acts as if what's what's really upsetting me to the point where like I could almost cry right now is that they were just so like, gosh, we're so excited to have this representation, aren't we the best for doing that? And then they did the same thing her boyfriend did to her, like they cast men who were racist and went like, well, she's not going to experience racism, she's an Asian woman, Asian people don't experience racism. Like that's what it was. We have to call that what it was. It was an act of like actual violence towards this woman of color, and then they were like, but she's not a woman of like, to us she's just Jen, la 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 la, and like we're gonna do all this bullshit.
I think because of her softness and femininity and the fact that, when she's not tanned, right? And if you put her in winter in Boston, right, she becomes fairer because they associate those things with their standards of beauty within whiteness, right? In their minds, they approach the casting from her for her season with a color blindness. And that is the issue with colorblind racism. When you refuse to see color, you refuse to really open your eyes to it, you will never open your eyes to the ways that an Asian woman like Jenn and many other Asian women in this franchise can and have and will be harmed as long as that mentality continues.
Yeah. 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 So it's like to me it's like I don't think the conversation of was Maria chosen first or not is really the issue. It is an issue, right? It is an issue, but it's not ultimately the issue when it comes to what still Jen had to experience, in my opinion. And it's like, yeah, they didn't recast in any way, so that's fucked, right? But it's like, but that's the point. That's the problem. They didn't recast. I don't know. They just like they just didn't see her for who she was, yet wanted to use her for what she was, and then did some weird apology tour day before the season comes out, saying we regrettably. That Devin regrettably, like he was using, I regrettably was a little too late. The show could like literally say we were regrettably a little too late in casting any Asian men on the show other than one. We are so sorry. We will do better. You need to have continued your apologies that you didn't do anything to adjust the cast for her. Whether also like I don't know, what's your opinion? Like is was it cast for another person? Was it just the bad casting they do in general? I mean, I think that's a point you've been trying to make. Um, what was the problem? I mean,
I will honestly say that a part of me knew not to fully trust that they would give her the season she deserved
mhm,
after what I experienced as a Black viewer watching Rachel Lindsay's casting.
mhm.
They cast a Black man who does not date Black women. So I don't put it past them. Like, I know they're trying to revamp themselves as like, this is Bachelor Nation 2.0. No, no, I see right through it, and I knew there would be at least one man like that on her season, right? There's one man on every season. Um, some of them, are just on there just to go to paradise because they have someone else in the franchise in mind. And so they make up dumb excuses to self-eliminate, right? Sometimes it's like a valid one where it's like, okay, like I don't feel like we're really going to this place of being in love and my sister's gonna get married, so I'm gonna
Mhm.
dip this out, right? But then you have like someone's like, oh, I just got a call out of the blue and I didn't know, blah 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 blah. And it's like, so those dates that they were gonna call you on, you didn't think there would be like a conflict at all. Like it was the whole thing was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then you have men who like they will say, "Oh yeah, I'll go to a Taylor Swift concert with my future wife." But when they are thinking of the type of girl that they want to go to the Taylor Swift concert with, they want someone who looks like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And so like it doesn't matter to them how American Jen is, because that is what she is, right? She is very clearly American, but they will never completely see her as such because their America centers around whiteness. It is not an America that includes all of us.
Mhm.
Um, and unfortunately, it's played out in the outcomes of the season. I know a lot of people think that once you fall in love with someone and you are attracted to them, that they are somehow cured of racism, right? They think
Yeah.
an interracial relationship is an inherently radical thing. And the
Mhm.
truth is that people of color do still experience like racial violence within their own interpersonal relationships, whether it is through marriage, whether it is a mixed person receiving racism from a parent. Uh,
Mhm.
it is all very possible because at the end of the day, Jen is beautiful. She's gorgeous. She's hot. She's accomplished. She's funny. She is an amazing, amazing woman. She's all these great things. And I'm so sure these guys were attracted to her, right? Why wouldn't they be? But to be attracted to someone, to be aroused by someone, to sexualize someone is not the same as recognizing someone's personhood and
Mhm.
loving them and committing to them.
Mhm. Mm. Mm. Yeah. It makes me so sad. It makes me so sad. They really, really did not do a good job casting. And I mentioned this in the last episode. Like, it's like we're not they have they have the they have the data to see how they fucked up before too. Like, it's not like this is the first time. So it's like you don't have an excuse anymore. And where is Dr. Banks? Where is the other people you guys supposedly hired to help you make these choices and do better? Like, where are they? What are they like? What are you doing? How can you think that this is going to go well? It shows that they didn't even care. Like, they just did not care. They wanted the brownie points for doing a diversity season.
Are you familiar with the term shut up ring?
Yes.
The season that they gave Jen, that they gave us as viewers, it's a shut up ring.
But then they did it so badly. I I don't want to shut up Bring. I think that's fucked. It's so fucked. And honestly, it's like, yeah, like as somebody who's been watching the show for a long time, who's been talking about this part of it for so long with amazing people like you and everyone else who's been on this podcast ever before, who's given me the time of day to have a very sensitive conversation like this. I don't want this is what this is. But like, okay, so are we moving the needle? I mean, we talk all the time with the fat diversity. I know that the first season will be a shut up Bring a season as well, right? It'll be horrific. It'll be so painful for the fat contestant, the lead, all the things. But I'm like, okay, but let's move that needle forward. Like, let's work through that. But then for them to just like do it so badly, it like doesn't even benefit them. It doesn't benefit them. It doesn't benefit the everyone is talking about how horrific it was. Like everyone. How is this benefiting them? I don't want it to benefit them, but like, you know what I'm saying? Is that weird?
Because up until the aftermath of the season, they're still making their ad dollars.
So true. Ugh.
They're still making their ad dollars. That is their main reason for moving on with the season, right? They're like, we don't have Paradise set up. We don't have a golden season. We're filming that now. We need to buy ourselves time and we need something to fill this space so that we can keep our ad revenue. And so with that, I think that they know that they messed up. They should have been more intentional with it, and
Mm.
it has blown up in their face. That instant gratification that they got, it's like their reputation as a franchise is on the line. When people were excited, and don't get me wrong, I'm so excited to see Jen on Dancing with the Stars.
Hmm.
When I tell you that is the least, the very least that they could have done. Like, I need them to write her a check for the rest of her life. Also, if one of the worst men to come out of this franchise got to be on a gajillion seasons, they can make her Bachelorette twice.
And I
I
saw people
realize
talking about it, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Oh my God. And we had what Brad Womack had 2 seasons or whatever was it? Yeah, like okay, please. I'm sorry. So when men when men don't do good and they don't pick the right person because they're dumb, they get to do it again because I mean that is what it is. Like men can just make all the mistakes in the world. White men, sorry, can make all the mistakes in the world and still get over like it, oh my God. I mean, I want a second season for sure, but also she should walk away. you know, build her platform. She's great. I love her, and like I went far back on her TikTok early in the season. Like she's been trying to be this really cute little like mixture of doing her PA work and being an influencer that I found really endearing and beautiful. That so I'm just very happy for her. I think she's gonna be great, and she's gonna date a really wonderful hot person. Hopefully, it's a woman. Um, in my head canon, but you know, yeah.
So I would say from what I heard, because it's one thing to watch someone on TV, it's another thing to hear live accounts of them within Tufts, because it's where my partner works, that's the area we're in, right? So within the Tufts area, I've run into people who say they knew her, like are 1 degree of separation from her, or had a roommate who worked with her
Nice.
at a hospital. And they said she's a really wonderful, sweet girl, that she's a girl's girl,
Mhm.
right? I don't know, but it's one of those things where maybe she just knows that she's straight, and that's a hard thing for people to accept about themselves, right? I do
So
feel
sad.
maybe the Gabby situation, we don't know wherever her journey takes her. I hope that whichever gender, her future partner belongs to, um, I also hope that they just identify as her number one fan.
Yeah, exactly.
I
As she,
really,
yeah.
um, but with that being said, there have been accounts on the internet from people who personally knew her front runner.
Let's get into it.
And there's theories surrounding that. So there's a woman on the internet who posted to her TikTok publicly, and I can find the name, but it's escaping me, and maybe, she probably wouldn't want her name mentioned in this video, but she talked about how Devin was her high school bully, and he was very overtly a bully towards women of color, treated them like trash from the beginning. And then when it came to beautiful white women, he would be very nice to them to start, but then discard them
Sadly.
at the end.
Mhm.
Um, I did not trust Evan when he came and he was like, "Oh, I was a fat kid and that never left me." I don't necessarily trust men when they say that, because it's like, what never left you? Like internalized fat phobia? Is there hatred, self-hatred that you never resolved that you now turn outward to other people? Totally empathize with the experience of being bullied, right? It sucks, especially when you're a child. Like, it deeply impacts your mental health. And I know that firsthand. I would never wish it on anyone. But what you do with that experience matters. And
Mhm.
if your takeaway from that isn't, "Oh, I've been hurt and I never want this kind of pain to be spread out into the world. I never want anyone else to experience that." If that is not your takeaway, then you are very capable of causing more harm.
Mhm.
And that is what we're seeing here. Um, I think that at the end of the day, in the real world, Devin wouldn't have even put on his little mask. And you can kind of see cracks in the mask. Which brings me to the next theory that someone else had on TikTok about Devin, where she saw 2 situations where he tried to find a literal just excuse, an out, like he saw a little crack in the wall,
Mhm.
and he's like, "I will break this wall down to make a door so I can leave."
Yeah.
Her ex comes on the season and she's like, "What the hell is this?" And she goes and tells the guy. She does not tell them she's considering him. She's not saying any of that. And even though he'd had so much validation up to that point about them, you'd expect, like in previous seasons when that's happened, it's usually the guys that are like insecure about their position with Jen. Someone like Jen, right? You'd expect him to be like, "Well, she brings him on that's not fair to the rest of us, and we haven't gotten time." But he's gotten all the time. He's been taking time more than anyone. Because I think a part of him knows when you are taking the Bachelorette, you've the Bachelorette, you are going to be on camera. Whenever you are next to the lead, you are guaranteed screen time.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows that he went after it aggressively, but I don't think he wanted to actually be the front runner. I don't think he actually expected it.
Mm-mm.
I think he kind of expected that she would lean towards men of color who were actually still giving her a lot of validation.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, he sees that as his first opportunity. It doesn't work. And then when he sees that the lead is not saying, I love you to her, because historically it gets messy. If the lead says, I love you to more than one person, she or he, like, they are in like a dicey position. So he goes and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna knock on her door, we're gonna have a conversation. It will probably be the end for me. Cause Sam did a similar thing and he got sent, he went
Exactly.
home.
Yeah.
So he's like, so we're gonna go have a conversation. And this is probably the end for me. And then last minute, she's like, well, I love you, you idiot. And oh,
I'm
Theory
glad she
was like,
called him an idiot. She was correct on that.
so the theory was that at that point he was like, oh fuck.
Yeah. No, we've been saying that for like a couple weeks now. It's like but I was like last week I just couldn't believe. I was like, wow, we had the final two were both doing that because Marcus was doing the same fucking thing. Neither of them wanted to win, and they were like, oh shit, all of our bullshit before didn't work. We got too far. Oh no, oh no, oh no. And I just can't I was like, I don't all of his bigotry aside, how did not more people see that? Like Claudia from Rose Noir was on that week when the ex-boyfriend came back and he was outside being like, I'm gonna fucking leave. We were like, red flag. Like, absolutely. Like he had just won us over the week before by being a shitbag by knocking Sam down a couple pegs, and we're like, okay, well at least somebody's doing it. And then he comes around and does this, and we're like, no, 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 no. You don't get to do that. And then he continued to do it the whole time. It's so manipulative. Babe, I'm okay. I don't need any reassurance. And then the same week, knock, 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 I need all the reassurance or I'm fucking leaving. Oh, I love you. Oh, let me propose to you to show you that I chose you. And then he immediately goes, no, I don't want that. You fucking threw a tantrum that she needed to choose you and she chose you and you didn't want it. That's because he never wanted it. I'm sorry. Or he's one of those psychopath men who just like, I mean, I guess both are true. Like,
I think both of them wanted clout, and to say that they hadn't watched the show would be a lie, right? They had known at some point historically this guy's like coming on like, yeah, I'm gonna play into the veteran card. What do you do for rent, my guy? Because if you're not boots on the ground, right? I really want to know. What do you do for rent?
no idea.
Like, no. What do you do when you don't have a gun in your hand? When you're not living on house, what do you do for rent? Because
Well, allegedly harass women.
right, because the way he was like, oh, this is not my home, this is like my family and where we stay and blah 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 blah. I'm like, where do you live? No, because when he was packing for the season, there was nothing on the wall but one flag, and there was like no bedside table, there was nothing. There was nothing. So I was like, is this staged or is this your part? It's like, what is going on? It is not the first time a man has staged an apartment for their partner when they're on a reality show. It happened on a Netflix show, and the guy turned out to be a whack job.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like at the time, fiance called it and was like, either you're really clean or you're a serial killer. Something is up. This is like white glove clean. It doesn't make sense. So you're like, his apartment didn't look lived in at all. And then we never get to see like his family home or where they grew up. So I was like, that doesn't make sense. And I don't think he expected that level of having to let America in, because you usually don't have to. If you get eliminated and you get sent to paradise, you don't
Mhm.
have to let America in to
Mm-mm.
meet your parents.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think that neither of them anticipated any of that. I think the moms and the sisters usually say it all.
And they really did.
right? They'll tell you if they think that man is an asshole, right? Are you sure? Like him? You sure? He wants to man. He wants to get married at all. Like, you sure? Like the
Oh,
only time it wasn't like a blaring red flag is like Jeremy's mom and sister, because they were just like, he's not a bad guy, but like,
he's not
we
really
know
what you're
his
really.
past, it's kind of interior. He wasn't dating someone before. Like, what's going on? We don't. What are the vibes? Are y'all in love and you're trying to get married? And like Jeremy having a like a sister who's like, because am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, yeah.
He was a yeah, and she was very much just like, can we be so for real? She's like, okay, like you guys are U-hauling it, but can we just talk about feelings? Because a U-haul usually comes with feelings. And y'all are missing a key component of this. Do you love each other? Because that's a lot to ask, like to commit to after this, you guys are gonna try and move in together and make this thing work. And so I think it is like very telling to see like the difference between Jonathan and then Marcus and Devon's hometowns.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, I'm not just watching the man, you need to be watching their family. You need to
You
be
really do.
taking every single reaction. And I know it's really, really hard when you've already developed feelings for someone, you've already created a story in your mind. And so at that point, if you already want to love someone's family and fall in love with one family in particular,
Mm. So the signs were there so much. That's what was like so painful to watch too. You were just like at some point in the season just not rooting for anyone. Barely Jonathan. Sorry, barely. I mean by default. Like I guess that was it. Like it was like how am I in this situation where he is by default the one I'm like standing, you know? And like whatever. I mean, there's he I
really
fucking
hope
hate.
now that she's on Dancing with the Stars, I'm hoping, praying that he doesn't pull a Tyler Cameron. Please.
They're trying already.
Whoever the equivalent of like Gigi Hadid is to him, please, Jonathan, don't do it.
Oh,
Stay
that part, yeah.
Addison Rae. Like, don't do that kind of mess. Please. You know what I mean? If you want to do that, you want to go date a model, leave her out of it. She's been through enough.
Yeah.
It's enough. The reason I bring that up is because there are so many parallels in like
Yes.
the really unfortunate ending that Hannah Brown had, but there was far more grace for Hannah Brown nationwide than there is for Jen.
Well, and yeah, no, yeah, and the show was very much like this white woman's tears is the worst thing that's ever happened to us.
Mhm.
And we have to do everything we can to fix it. Dancing with the Stars. Okay. Uh, hot third runner up. Okay. Um, blah blah blah. Or I guess he was the second runner up, wasn't he? But yeah, all of that. It's and but they left Jen sobbing on the stage, forcing her to watch her proposal again, and then shoot her off and said, "Welcome, Joan," again. Um, and it's, I think that's something I've been seeing a lot online too. It's just like it was really, they really did not care that she was in pain on that stage. It was for ratings and it was, but like at what cost? Like I think they should have just shown it in order as they normally do. And then they bring them out together, or then she's like, "You're no longer with the man anymore," and then now let's kill Devin live on stage. That part was fun, but
I think they knew from the start how bad they had botched it.
mm,
And so it is of no surprise to me that around the time that all of this probably would have gone up in smoke anyway, right? When this probably would have been happening timeline wise with Jen and Mr. Fuckface.
mhm.
Um, they announced Grant really early.
Yeah, yeah.
They announced Joan's cast and they're like, look, Kelsey's sad, which love that for both of them. But
You're right. It was very, yeah, 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 yeah.
Like not like funny, haha, funny, weird.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Ooh. And frankly, that's why I also everyone's sending me all the Jonathan and Jen TikToks. I I am such a wet blanket. Like I don't one, I don't believe it. I think they're both just doing it because why not? Like like they're getting the most views they've ever gotten on their account. It's money. Jen's smart, he's smart, whatever. I don't think they get together. So I'm not even like enjoying it like I did with Tyler and Hannah until it blew up. And then two, Jonathan's actually officially on my shit list. We'll get into it in a second. And I hate being that person, but I just like once something happens, I'm like, usually you're done to me. Um, but what was my point? Yeah, I forgot what my actual point was. It's
They were kind of doing
Oh, they're distracting. Yes. So to me, I feel like it's also a distraction. I feel like her and Jonathan is a distraction from us all being like, fuck you. Because literally 3 days ago, we were all writing think pieces and as we should. But now it's, well, but she can still get her man. She can still get the man. And I'm like, okay, I guess, like, sure, like, if that's what ultimately, if it's true and that's what she wants, and like, that is the, yeah, okay, great. But I'm like, that's not to me, that's not, that doesn't forgive or distract enough from the harm that was caused.
I think that what he was doing after the show, the way he was defending all the guys, I think he is PRing too close to the sun.
Yeah. Yeah. So folks, he basically I didn't share this yet on the Instagram yet, but he was on Marcus's page. Marcus made some kind of post and he's like, "You're a good man, Marcus. I want everyone to know how strong and brave you are." And I know there's like allegations, I'm paraphrasing. There's things online about things that you've done and people should know that is not who you are and that's like the furthest thing from the truth and if they really knew who you were, blah blah blah. I was like, you didn't you could have just been like, I love you, brother. Good. I had a good time with you on the show. You had to bring in that about his allegations.
And here's the thing, here's why it's dangerous, right? Because like you and I are gonna sleuth everything out on the internet, right? We're gonna like I can tell you the date certain allegations drop, the timelines, right? We can make a whole board and share us right
What is that housewives things? Receipts, timeline.
now. I don't think these men are that smart, right? His whole thing is creative director, right? So he makes really good content.
He does.
You know, he would know what he's doing on Paradise to promote himself. I think he'll go very far with that part of his career. I don't know if everyone knows the depth of the allegations because even when I was talking to my partner about it, he initially thought, from what's been going around, that it is like, oh, he screwed over some girls. Because when a guy gets bad mouthed, right, it's like, oh, an ex came out of the woodwork and said you're a bad guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're taking his brother's word for it, right? He's like, yeah, Marcus came to me crying and said that his ex-girlfriend said some mean things. And at that point, if you're friends with someone and you're not critically thinking about this franchise, um, you're not gonna go deep into Reddit and find
So
all the
true.
dirt. He's like, this is my friend that I know personally. Now, through this experience that's been very isolating because we all signed the same NDA,
Right.
I'm not gonna go and check all my facts because I think now that there's going to be like backlash of like the extent of what happened, he's probably eating crow right now.
Yeah, because people replied in the comments. They were like, "John, you just are you serious? Like what?
You
Jonathan
know,
Johnson?" I'm sorry.
government name.
Yeah, John.
Government
When
name.
when I found out it was Johnson, I was like, "Oh, that's the red flag right there for me." Jonathan Johnson, sir. What? So that's actually a really good point. Yeah, and that how often does that happen, right? When in society, all our communities, I I heard from my friend, "Oh, my ex is talking shit." Oh, fuck her. Like, oh my God, yeah, that actually so tracks for me. But yeah, people were in the comments being like, buddy, no. So I don't know what's happened since then. So it's a good point. I mean, yeah, I think he's probably eating crow and, but oh my God.
Since then, he did his long post about Jen. and now they're making TikToks together.
Then that is not the truth. Yeah, is not the truth.
So just like the order that in which those things happen, I'm like, interesting,
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Interesting.
We'll see if after this he is seen out in public getting a beer with Marcus again.
Yeah, yeah. No, that yeah,
If not, that tells me, oh yeah, no, I actually learned some new information, which everyone is entitled to do. You're allowed to learn new information and pivot. If he does do that, good for him.
Absolutely.
I will
Okay, yeah, I'll hold back my Jonathan is forever trash.
What I will say is that it's like one of those things. It's a developing story.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah, it's gosh. Well, and that's I mean, but that's just it's interesting. Is like, am I shocked that the franchise didn't acknowledge his allegations, nor Devin's racism and his problematic likes, which were literally copy and paste from Matt Garrett, Gregorian. And he won, and he got a hot scene about it. And I just don't know. Like, can you imagine a scenario where Jen's also like dragging him and is like, "You ghosted me. You fucking broke up with me on the phone." And also, by the way, I found out that you're anti-immigration. Like, what? But we didn't get that.
I think that on top of anti-immigration, right, we need to talk about the fact that they cast someone from the U.S. military for a Vietnamese bachelorette
I
because the lack of comprehension about just the implication of that. Partially, I want to blame Bush's education policies, right? You can tell from some of the commentary that we've been hearing, oh, it's like you should have been left behind.
I know, like actually, all children, please.
Some of you should have been left behind. And I'm talking to them. I am. I am. Why didn't you thank him for his service? Why don't we talk about why her mom and dad had to immigrate to the United States? Why did they leave Vietnam? Why were there a lack of opportunities in Vietnam? What is the history there? Crack a book before you open your mouth.
Natalie Joy.
It's not, and it's not surprising, right? That she's a pick me. Look at who she's married to. It's unsurprising at all. But
Wow, girl, you won. You sure won. I'm so happy for you. I'm glad you fucking won your man.
I think what needs to happen is that if they're going to continue casting people who are of different races, right? Anyone who's non-white, especially when they have a strong, not just racial culture, but ethnic culture behind them that has a history that is related to the United States. There needs to be education, there needs to be infographics, right? Like all the people were like, we're listening and learning. How many books have been cracked since that time? Because I saw a lot of people posting, these are the books that you should read to learn that have been written in the past. Like, no, just like pick up a history textbook.
Yeah,
Let's do
actually,
that.
just yeah, like even our U.S. history books don't actually tell like much of the truth, but like they do chronicleize the wars and the so like you know it's yeah, were you really not? I mean, okay, oh my God.
I need them to cast more people from the social sciences
So true.
because
Oh my
like these,
God.
it's not, they're not cutting it. They're not cutting it at all. Um, I just think that the implications of that on this season were not taken seriously.
Mm-mm.
And that is why I was disappointed that Marcus got as far as he did, because to not have that conversation, not be able to have that conversation. I understand Jenna's American and Mark's is very proud of America. She's also Vietnamese. She's expressed that she wants her kids to speak Vietnamese. She deserves a partner
Yeah.
that is honor that and honor the history and have honest conversations about it. Also,
So
I don't think that man was struggling to express his feelings. He wasn't going to show up at temple a couple times a year. He was not going to do that. I was
no.
not going Absolutely not.
Yeah. They really
Absolutely.
and they just really made his military background such a big part of his screen time, his story too. It was really I hated it from the start. Listeners know that. I was never
Uh,
pro Marcus even. Go ahead.
the franchise has done that every single election year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what season?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. I know, and like Mike Johnson was, and like yeah, that was 2019. And with their affinity to prop up the um, you know, war mongering and people who are in the military, Mike Johnson should have been the Bachelor. Like we're all just like, what? He was perfect for you guys. Chris Harrison famously said, "Bring us one," i.e., a good black man. Mike Johnson was fit all your boxes.
So the way a lot of these shows make money is like through their ad revenue, right? And to make good ad revenue, you have to have a certain type of content focus so that it looks like a seamless transition to we're watching these scenes, right? Versus that right now in the ad world, military ads aren't performing.
Mm.
They're not bringing in recruits.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the alternative? Casting directors.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh shit.
Right? It's like if it was like back in the day with like print and that's the way people consume their content or radio, right? It's like, okay, our ads and our recruitment at low income high schools is not working. So what's everyone reading now? What's a publication that everyone's reading right now, right? Okay, we're gonna showcase this person and turn them into a personality. People aren't directly looking at what they know is an ad. How can we weave that into storytelling? So if they wanted to get more people to recruit, they know, okay, we probably can't go into Teen Vogue right now and
Mhm.
try to pitch the military as cool to Gen Z. It's not going to work.
No, they're very, yeah.
Right? It's like these people know that there is a recession looming, and even that is not motivating them
Hmm.
to go risk their lives for benefits. But what is the demographic that we could still pull?
Hmm. Yeah, 28 to 35, women watching The Bachelor.
As I was alluding to when I was on the Rose Nar podcast, and I know it sounds like to a lot of people, it's just like, oh, you just hate all the military. And I'm like, no, it's all like cast the way every season is cast, it's a strategy. They have to think about the storylines that are going to come out of it,
Mm,
what that's for viewership, what that's going to do in terms of brand safety, right? So they know that they cannot, there's a limit to how sensitive a topic is that they can discuss on air. Because if you say certain keywords, that things that are blacklisted, then someone can't serve an ad next to your content. So
hmm.
they never had intentions
You're right.
of
Oh, yeah, of addressing it all. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Wowie. But to your point, also the brand is suffering so much after the results of this season. Like what I mean, I guess ultimately that doesn't matter, right? It's such a big brand. Like this will be a blemish on it. I mean, we were talking last week, the people who came into the season new for Joey's season and then watched Jen's, they might not return. I think that, like they lost viewers. What they would gain in people who were just like hated watching it but was scandalized by the drama, who now wants to maybe see what the future seasons will be like, like, and I'm stuck in that cycle, right? Like I've been ever since the Ari and Becca moment. I mean, I don't think I was ever going to stop watching because it did. I'll never forget where I was. It was scandalized, it was horrible, but like here I am. But I just think that they're losing good graces even more than they already have.
and they knew that they knew how catastrophic this was going to be for like a lot of Asian viewership, and they're like, okay, we need to think of something fast. That's why I'm saying the announcements that they made for the upcoming seasons and the early invitations to paradise
Yeah. Yeah. Grant season, Paradise, Joan, Dancing with the Stars.
Because that wasn't, they weren't, because with other bachelorettes, they were like, okay, before anything else happens, before we bring you up on stage to talk about this really painful thing, like, Hannah, we've got you, let's get your apartment set up in LA, let's get your cast photos taken. And she was announced. Jen doesn't even have a cast photo. That's
No,
how
it
last minute agree.
made me so mad. It made me so fucking mad. Because because of the narrative that she was second choice.
I would say the one thing is I am glad Jen didn't try to be strong in that moment,
Hmm,
not show emotion and
yeah.
just like not like strength is in like
Yeah.
very stoic, I think is the word
Yeah.
looking for. Because the narrative that was painted about her throughout the season is that she doesn't know how to get in touch with her emotions herself, and she's not going to find someone because she isn't crying every second. And I think people neglect the fact that when you are a woman of color and your vulnerability is often taken advantage of, as it has been with Jen, like, why would you show up when you have a vulnerable moment and people take your kindness for weakness and try to get one over on you?
Mhm.
So there's a reason she's had her walls up for so long.
Mm.
And these guys didn't help it. They, instead of being someone that gave her a really beautiful experience, the way she had with Joey, right? Things didn't work out with Joey, but he's not a topic of conversation in a negative way in therapy because he's like, okay, well, I can't be your husband, your lifelong love story, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go out of my way to become the villain to your story. We're gonna have honest conversations about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And that's why she was able to come on and do this season
Hmm.
because of someone who had the decency to be like, you're not my person, but you're still a person, you're still a human being, worthy and deserving of love and respect.
So
And I think
true.
that is why it is so hard to let go of the anger towards Devin, Marcus, like these men. It's like, you guys knew you weren't ready to commit. So why didn't you say something? Why is it that you can't just be an adult and tell someone you don't want to be with them rather than doing that thing where you're just extremely cruel and you force them to leave? Like you're so cruel that it pushes them out the door.
Exactly. And Devin thinking releasing those texts did something, but when it's exactly what you said, men like that, people like that, who are like, I'm gonna be so shitty to you that you're gonna be the villain in this relationship demise. You're gonna break up with me. So, oh, America should know that she said I was gonna break up with you. And he,
I'm like, does he think we're like children in the brain like he is?
like, insane.
You ran at the end, you ended engagement on the phone and you ran to social media with screenshots and you think we're gonna sit there and be like, your story checks out. Yeah, immediately. Yeah, you're the victim.
Yeah, and you were like, yeah, both of them using that whole like, but you just really wanted you had expectations for your partner, and I know that I couldn't give it to you. Well, if you knew that, you shouldn't have done what you did. And also, she's not expecting you to do anything other than just care for her. And I think it was I was listening to Here to Find Love. Everyone who's listening to this podcast, please immediately listen to their podcast. They are two Asian American women who cover the Bachelor franchise through a dating coach lens. And they are wonderful and they do great recaps. And they were talking about just like Jen was asking for them to care for her, just have any amount of care. And they were like, what you're asking, like, I can't even provide that. Like, I can't even provide a basic level of care. And it's just so fucked.
I think that there wasn't anything that Jen could have done better. These guys sucked.
That's
These guys. I think that if they give her another season, Jesse and her brother need to do the casting.
oh, I would love
Like,
that
I think
so
that instead
much.
of sitting down with the ABC's therapist, they need to sit down and look her brother in the eye because I feel like he won't take any of their BS. Like he's like, so what do you do for work? Okay, why do you like my sister? Have you ever dated an Asian woman before?
Yeah. And how long was your relationships? Do you
You all
like
fetish? Like, what is your deal? Like, those questions need to be asked. What was your last relationship? Oh, all your ex-girlfriends are crazy. All of them are just bad people. You never did anything.
but I thought of it, you're right, like what the brother would ask too. And is there something to be said? I mean, you and I are not yeah, I don't know if we can speak on that, but like it's just that yeah, were these men also just liking the demure side of Jen, right? And then maybe in an actual, like Devin, for example, then like in a real relationship, she shows any level of emotion. It's like now she's aggressive or she's um not what they picture an Asian woman to be as a partner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that Devin to me just screams the type of person that was just like ready to get out.
Yeah. Ultimately.
He was ready to get out. He was looking for an excuse, and he's a coward.
Yeah. Well, I guess also I'm thinking of Sam M. Like I think Sam M was like, "Oh, Jen will just be this like your face."
I just assessed the moment he's like, yeah, my ex was terrible. What did she do? She was just the worst. And I have a fierce, ferocious love. Let's make out. Huh?
What? Okay.
I'm bees.
Oh my god.
He has a smooth brain, maybe, but it's ridiculous.
Oh.
Absolutely ridiculous. And it's so sad to me that there are a few forgotten kings from this season that we would have loved to see more of. And I just knew that Aaron was full of shit when he tried.
No, absolutely.
Because what has Spencer actually done? If we want to talk about a man from Houston who deserved more, Spencer,
Honestly.
like he was so real. He's like, can y'all shut the fuck up?
Mhm.
And I was like, that's a king.
That
That's
was such a good. I loved that scene so great. I was like, with the other Sam's like, oh, well, the night's still young. He's like, it's literally not. He literally told us the cocktail party is canceled. The night is over, you fucking idiot. All of you are fucking idiots. He is so sweet. His TikTok presence is great. He takes pictures of pets. No, I really, he is a, I, ah, fucking hell, dude. All this, there was literally 3 men, 4 men maybe, of the 25 that were like halfway decent. And,
like he
yeah.
works. He doesn't make his body his whole personality. He's like, can I be sponsored by Pepsi? I'll drink a Pepsi. I'll drink 10 Pepsis a day. He's just like, yeah, no, I'm not. I don't have self control. I'm not. Calories, what
I love it so much. It's
yeah, just like because I remember from Tasty season we had a gym bro
right.
who, um, I haven't told this story. I don't think on an episode, but I remember he gave like sweetheart vibes, and then I at the time I was like, oh, he's answering like training questions. And I was trying to work on core strength that I'd lost because I grew up a swimmer and I haven't done that in years. So I was like, how does one rebuild that? Because I just took it for granted. When you swim, especially certain strokes, you just build it up and you wake up one day, you're like, oh, that's there,
Hmm.
but I don't have it. And so how do I build it? And I asked a question. I was like, yeah, so like what can I do to like work abs in a way that's like not boring and like actually shows results? And I'm thinking I'm gonna get like calisthenics advice, he's gonna recommend Pilates, something, or show like an actual workout that I could do at home that doesn't require a big machine because
Sheen,
I
yeah.
wasn't about to do all that. And his advice to me to work on my abs was eat less. Like he answered that. He's like, eat less. You just need calorie deficit and your abs will pop out. That's not what I asked you. You own a gym. Your job is to build muscles. What do you mean eat less? Does that make sense? So the fact that Spencer is just like, yeah, I work out. That's what I do spend my time doing. I really like Pepsi's. I can't remember if he said Diet Pepsi. And he also is just like, yeah, I'll make really cute portraits of your pets.
Did you
I like
see
that.
he did a TikTok yesterday or something too? He's like, I really realized I need a hobby. I was really terrified about being on The Bachelorette because they make you do special talents sometimes. And he's like, I didn't have a special talent. And now that I've been off the show, I've been thinking about how I need a hobby. And I was like, God, men are so fucking basic. You don't have a hobby? I like you don't have a thing that you okay. But it was like props to him being like, I think I need a thing. And he's like, I think I want to start making really fancy espresso drinks at my house and get a nice machine. It was so wholesome. I was like, I love you, Spencer.
Right. And someone like that is like, yeah, let me just like delve in and find something that's just like, oh, doesn't really like cause harm to anyone. I'm just like creating something, right? Because you know how many times we're like come out of a situation like that and they're like, I'm gonna skip therapy, but you know what's really cool? Boxing. I need to go hit things to figure out my emotions. I don't have emotions except for anger, so boxing. I need to go.
Oh my god. So funny. Oh, jeez.
So I think the next person that I really want to see, if there was anyone Jen could have made it work with, who would have like done everything in his power and who was really ready for an engagement, it was Spencer. He's been in a long-term relationship. He's obviously stable enough, has a good, like healthy relationship with his mom, right? Not like in a weird way, just like, oh, hey, just calling you to let you know, like I need the support, like it sucks, right?
Oh
Like just
yeah, that was so sweet.
naming his emotions, not afraid to be vulnerable, right? Just no bullshit from the guys, and is now just like, you know what? She's a great girl. It just didn't work out. It wasn't her person.
Yeah.
And is not hateful towards her. I don't think I ever doubted for a second what Spencer's intentions are.
Hmm.
He's just like, yeah, no, I was in a relationship. I was gonna marry this person. I got cheated on. I walked away. Like, I think that's totally valid. And for anyone to say that he wasn't ready,
That was so out of nowhere.
from someone who's never been engaged, you're not ready to like commit and go all the way. You couldn't even commit to a season. You jump ship.
And your brother had to make fun of you.
Lit literally. You have to grab you for acting like men. Do you know how low you have to stoop to have comparable behavior to like an uppity Harvard bro?
Yeah. And then to go online and be like, "Oh, told you so, Jen." And then he had to make an apology video because everyone rightly called him out. It was like, no. Who
Someone
are
got their
these?
heart broken on Netflix television and you're the good guy. I
Yeah,
told you.
told you so. Sam, Thomas, Aaron, I need you guys to shut the fuck up. It's not the time. You caused her harm too. You are seeing what you see in yourself. You didn't like Devin? Okay, great. You want me to fucking suck your dick for it? I'm not going to. It's because you were the same person.
They
Shocker.
really weren't that different. I'm glad Quinn like dragged him to the point of him like almost clutching his pearls.
Yeah.
I just hope he knows like how much of a stink he's made and that like it's a long time before paradise is Like all, all you have to do is not be an idiot. Because everybody, like, there is record casting for Grant season. The last time that happened, like we've seen the last times that's happened for Bachelor seasons, look at the women from Matt James season. Look at the women from Joey season. Gorgeous, gorgeous, very accomplished, emotionally intelligent, just like really great women on those seasons. So I have no doubt that the women from Grant season will not disappoint. And I know I have been a long time hater of like the Bachelor seasons because I know like the
Yeah,
state.
I was gonna ask you. I really this morning I was like, oh, I have to ask Leamy what's your plan for Grant season?
I will be watching Grant season. You heard it here first. I will be watching Grant season. I will be supporting the women on there. I will be
Hmm.
supporting color. I will also be supporting Grant's journey. I know it is hard and difficult to talk about addiction. And I feel like he handled it with like so much grace and compassion for
Yeah.
his father. He is still cheering him on. He hasn't like discarded him and understands that this is
Mm-hmm.
something that's happening to him that he's going through, despite like possibly the very painful impact it's had on his life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like it is important for him to be able to have those conversations out in the open because the last time we had a black bachelor with a complicated relationship with his father, the way that ABC handled that,
Mm-hmm.
that alone, I was like, Chris Harrison jail.
Exactly. No, I mean, surely it was like her. It was like, yeah. I hope we never forget that was her. Oh my God, they brought him on, and then I know. I was worried when Grant mentioned it on the season. I was like, if Grant makes it to top four, are they going to harass his father at hometowns? Um,
That would be so terrible. And for him to experience that on a national scale, like I really hope that I trust that Grant has the emotional intelligence to see through anything that the franchise would try to do
yeah.
in that regard. He seems like a really smart, mature guy. He was the only one to like talk Devin down and be like, "You're being weird. Like, calm down." She didn't say he was bringing the guy on. Like Grant
No,
was
he was, yeah. I did do the brave thing and listen to his Vile Files interview, and I it was really good. From Grant's perspective. Of course Nick was
I
shit.
think at this point, like the bio in terms of the bio because Jen went on as well,
Yeah.
right? I think at this point, in terms of viewership, it's become part of like the PR cycle,
Mhm.
unfortunately. I will say for other men on the season, um, with very boyish behavior, I'm looking specifically at Devin, at Marcus, at some of the other hotheads on the season. That couch, I want you to know, is not a therapist couch.
And that wasn't, yeah, and unfortunately Grant, I will say he was like, "Wow, Nick, you're really smart." There were like multiple times in the episode where Nick like made some point that was like I could be fine. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Grant, no, please buddy, but like it was no fall on Grant's heart, like he was, yeah, he was on that couch unfortunately, and Nick has an ego the size of a building, and so the building they were in downtown LA, and yeah, so yeah, exactly. Do not take any of that man's advice. Devin, Marcus, whoever unfortunately goes on.
I feel like at the end of the day, Grant strikes me as someone who's very self-assured,
Mhm,
very mature, actually ready for a serious relationship.
mhm.
I do also think that he understands exactly what he walked into. He understands exactly what he walked into. I don't know the extent to which his career prepared him for it, right?
Mhm.
Has worked in the corporate world. So
Yeah.
like he
Mhm.
knows what it is to keep the peace.
So true. Yeah. Mhm.
Knows what it is to keep the peace to get through the day. I can't tell you the amount of times I've sat in meetings, I'm like, wow, so insightful.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
And
This is his job. He's doing it. He's
yeah.
gonna a wife. he's
Yeah.
going to make his pay and have a happy life and like set himself up
That's the
like
thing. Yeah. And like I don't think you shouldn't have to have a career to have love and to
yeah.
find. We were making fun of these men obviously, but like we whatever. But I was just saying, but as far as the standards of the show go, he's ready. He's perfectly ready. It's really beautiful. Like I really liked him and Jen together because I was just like, no, this man is like he really cares about family. Yeah, he really is like present in this. And he has hobbies. What I learned on Nick Viall, like he is into anime. He plays piano. Like this is a fully self-conceptualized man who's ready for a relationship that's going to be great. Yes, cares about his family. Like you said, won't discard somebody just because of an issue. It was like I fell in love with him so much on that episode, and Nick was unfortunately there, but it was it was great.
It was great. I think that at the end of the day, I think what we saw from him during, when he was announced, he was asked by Jesse, like, what are you doing to prepare for the season? Like, is it a lot of like workouts? And, because he's alluding to the fact that everyone on the internet is talking about he's hot, right?
Which he is.
Right? Very, 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 very attractive man, right? Um, Also, I'm glad that they cast a bachelor who like openly has like tattoos and
Like seriously, oh my god.
yeah. I'm tired. I'm tired of like this those image of like you gotta be clean cut to be professional. Yeah, I'm wearing long sleeves at work, but will I be getting more tattoos? Yes. Yes, like people should be able to be a multifaceted person, a professional, an athlete, someone with all these hobbies. But then he's like, no, but for real, all that aside, I need to work on my emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And that to me is why, after years and years of being like, I don't want to see these men's stories. I don't have time to be disappointed once a week, right? Like I have things to do.
Hmm.
Um, like right now, grad school is stressful enough. But you know what? I will tune in for Grant. I will tune in for Grant because I genuinely believe him when he says he is doing the work.
Hmm.
Uh, and I commend him for keeping his composure when he's sitting on Nick's couch. He's doing a lot better than I am.
He's being very polite, and we
No, because I remember when the pandemic hit and um this is like more about my own personal lore, but me and my partner already known each other at that point, and like we were both just taking jobs wherever we could find them at that time when the world was shutting down. He took a job on the other side of the country. I was very salty about it because I felt like I found out way too late, and we weren't dating at that point, but I was like, I feel
yeah.
like, I should have found out sooner. And a part of me during that lockdown was like, what if I applied? Like he thinks he's gonna forget about me, get over me, and then he turns on his TV.
I hadn't leave me. Why did you keep this from me?
I thought about it. I thought about it. Um, and then I was like, I would immediately become a villain because I feel like my neurodivergence, I would spot a pattern in someone and I would name it immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would name it immediately because at the time I was younger. And so I would just like be like, oh, if like let's say I'd gone on Matt season, right? And I talked to him for a few minutes. I was like, you don't date people that look like me. I would have called it. Like not even who were American, but like so someone like me was also not from here. No, no. I would have clocked it so fast. If I would have been the subject of a podcast, immediately I'd be like, okay, I'm responding. A, B, C, D. Also, your wife is 12. Like I
No, literally, yeah, the thoughts in your head going like, "Gosh, do I want to apply to be on The Bachelor? Or does that mean I might have to one day meet Nick Viall? You know what? It's a single life for me, actually. I'm gonna go ahead.
I mean, it all worked out, right? I
Right.
got my final rose. So like I'm And now, and now I'm on the couch watching the show
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
person question. But I was like, yeah, no, I don't think going on national television to make him think about me is the answer. I should just like text him and have a hard conversation.
Obsessed. Oh my God. What we do for what we do for our relationships. Well, I thank you so much for having this conversation. I think, we could probably go on for like a bunch. There's a lot to always discuss. But you'll be back. So I'm not worried about it. We can keep chatting about everything, but I think that I think open up to you for your final thoughts, but I really think that Jenn is just so great. I'm still a stan from the second I saw her 2 years ago, basically, or a year and a half ago in a bio episode for Joey. This girl has it. She has it. She's gonna be great. I'm sorry that she had to go through what the show does to leads. Like it is historically, whether it's the males or the females, will ruin you. This particular version of ruining was really unfortunate for a lot of communities. And I hope they answer for it with lower ratings. Um, and I respect anyone in my DMs who said that they're having a hard time continuing to support the show.
And that's totally valid. That's totally valid. The way that they failed in telling her story, like there needs to be repercussions from that. There are a lot of feelings of hurt and pain and anger coming from the Asian American community right now. And I just like welcome everyone to just really listen and hold space for that.
Mhm.
Like the way a lot of my Asian friends held space for me when I was like outraged about Black leads in the past and how that was handled.
Yeah.
I think that especially since 2020, like there has been an upsurge in a lot of Asian hate in this country that it still goes on in a lot of ways to this day, especially that's like I think diminished by a lot of media coverage about interracial like POC infighting. So much so that it distracts from the fact that these are two communities that have stood in solidarity with each other for a long
Mhm.
time. And to that, I would just like to say, like, Jen deserved better. This entire community deserved so much better.
So much better. Yeah, we are in this together. Um, and yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, she deserved better. Justice for Jen. And fuck you, ABC. And fuck you.
100%.
Yeah, and fuck you, Devin. And fuck you, Marcus. And fuck all of these men.
I mean, all of us.
Oh my God, I can't even. I'm just so like. But anyway, yes, very excited to continue to. I'm excited to talk about Joan's season, and very excited for Grant's season. Please come back.
Yes.
Hmm. All right, y'all. Love you so much. And we'll be chatting in the DM still. And until then, get some water, drink some water, and lay down.
I
Bye.